Canola School on realagriculture.com is supported by Bayer Crop Science.
Well, I would say for the most part a little bit behind the crop. You know, if we go, say, from Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Alberta up into the Peace Country, summer people are telling me anything from about normal right now for staging in some parts of Saskatchewan to fairly behind in Manitoba in some areas. And also here in Alberta, there's areas that even what I've been told this morning is about a week behind and wet. I mean, that's seems to be the underlying factor, is a lot of wet soil out there and wet feet for the canola. But understanding too that canola is a cool season crop, and it also has an incredible ability to recover. I'm not saying that all of the canolas are going to recover like we would hope, but if we get Mother Nature like today with her sunshine on us, it's surprising what can happen by the time harvest comes along. Seeded acres and what harvested acres are going to be is really a difficult one to read. I mean, everybody's been talking in the industry around that, you know, maybe up as high as 16 million acres. I honestly, it's hard to read. Some of the people I've had conversation with even in the last couple of days who've been up in the plains say it's yellow from sea to sea, if you will, as far as the Prairie Sea is concerned. And yes, there is a lot of yellow fields out there, and I'm you know, understanding that the acreage is high, but to give you an exact number, I'm sorry, I can't do that. Well, from a pest perspective, and whether we're talking disease or we're talking bugs, because they're all pests, the key thing is, you know, diseases are going to be a factor this year. We really don't know what impact that's going to be. Lots of people have been certainly out there spraying with fungicide for the sclerotinia, for instance. Other diseases really haven't heard too much. Even from a blackleg perspective, it's been pretty wet, and because of that, we may not have the blackleg effects as much as we may normally have if it was a little bit drier. So, because yes, blackleg likes moisture, but it also needs a certain dry period to actually have a more of a dramatic effect. Other diseases like alternaria and so on, it's a wait and see thing. And also with the resistance levels that we have in a lot of the cultivars these days, alternaria may not be such a pest, if you will, in the future. I mean, there's been some other things show up, but really nothing too much to speak of. From a bug perspective, as far as pests are involved, it's been pretty quiet. I mean, you certainly have some areas down, say, in southern Alberta, maybe over into the far southwestern part of Saskatchewan, that have been talking about cabbage seed pod weevils and some of them showing up. As far as diamondback moths, very few that I've been hearing. I mean, the counts are there in some places, but again, to say it's having an effect on potential yield, can't really say that. The Bertha armory worm situation, the maps are just starting to come out now, so we'll see if there's any impact in certain regions from Bertha. You know, we've heard little things about aphids and so on, but really, it's been pretty quiet season so far from a bug pest perspective. So whether our environment this year is, I think, our biggest element that we have to deal with, and we'll see where that takes us by the time harvest comes along. Because of the wet feet syndrome, and of course some emergence issues earlier on in some regions because of abundant moisture or cool soils, staging when it comes to swathing and harvesting is going to be a challenge again this year. And of course, it's going to vary across the West. Some areas are going to have more difficulty preparing and understanding the staging of canola in time for harvest. And each year we always deal with this situation. I think this year again is going to be a mind bender, if I can put it that way, because no matter how many times you've been out there looking at the staging of a crop, this year, again, very likely will be different. And when we say staging, it still comes back to seed color change, not the 60-kilometer-hour check from the grid road and saying, oh, it looks like she's ready. Getting in the crop and actually doing an assessment of seed color change from the bottom of the plant up is the key way to actually do an assessment and find out on an average perspective where that particular field is and whether or not it's time to start putting it down or not.